What? What's your name?
My name is Brett Merchant.
Hi, Brett. What's your dog who's been on this journey on you? What breed is
She is half Siberian Husky and half Wolf.
she? What is her birth date of your dog?
June 21, 2006. Now she's 10.
What is your dog's name?
Kura, K-U-R-A.
Where did you start?
We started at the BC-Alberta border on Highway 16, just west of Jasper.
Interesting. How long did it take to walk from the border to Old Hampton, Hawaii?
Haida Gwaii.
Haida Gwaii.
September the 1st until November the 3rd.
What are you raising awareness for?
Okay. The awareness is of through and all over the world, there's pain and suffering everywhere. But this little part is my heart in this area. This Highway 16 corridor means not just the highway, but it's kind of surrounding areas of the highway. And Highway 16 is known as Highway of Tears. So the corridor is just we kind of look at the highway itself. And the reason why I'm raising awareness is what's happened along this corridor over many, many years. There's a lot of people missing, mainly young Aboriginal women, also men, and not just Aboriginal, but that's mainly. And so when you bring awareness, you can bring the beginning of healing. You can bring awareness of sometimes somebody might have seen something and they don't really realize what they've seen and how it matches in a little bit of a puzzle to help things. Maybe they might be able to solve some of these murders and missing people. So when you bring awareness, people pay more attention. And not that they didn't want to, but it just focuses more. And sometimes things happen like that, to where it helps. And it's mainly to help people heal, to help families heal.
What convinced you to do this?
Probably from a little guy like this, growing up with my parents, and through my time in life. And I always thought of doing something to help in different ways, though. Not really thinking about the walk. Then I watched a program called Highway of Tears on Netflix, on the TV. And as soon as I seen that, within 6 weeks I was on the road walking. Now, I heard of Highway of Tears before that. I didn't really know anything about it. Over time, I knew of. And then when I watched that documentary on TV, that was it.
So
I couldn't wait any longer.
So you researched a lot about Highway of Tears, and then it convinced you
to do that.
To do this.
And I have a little bit of an illness that could get worse and worse as I get older. So I thought, well, do it now instead of always putting it off, and then maybe one day I can't do it. So we're out here. Boom.
How many places did you stop at?
I don't know number-wise, but every community from the border all the way through up to Old Masset, and especially Native communities. Probably a lot of that is from my upbringing, and I feel even though we're all the same, our Creator created everybody on this earth. We're all the same. We have different races, we have different things, different this and that. But that doesn't mean we're not the same. And in humans, we tend to divide, which is the wrong thing to do. But we make mistakes, we're human. But it's better not to. It's better to not divide. It's better to stay together and love everybody. Yeah.
How old are you?
Young. I'll be 57 in January. That is so young. Only because I know somebody that's 102.
What date is your birthday?
My birthday is January the 1st, 1960. That's when I was born.
Wow, it's only
Yeah.
20 days away from your dog.
Yeah. Well, no, my dog is June, not July. Or January, sorry, June.
How many pounds did you lose?
I just found out by that nice little scale that I lost exactly 30 pounds. I was 232 when I started, and today I'm 202.
That's great.
That's super.
What was your best experience?
There's not a best experience there is in that the people that I met. That's one best experience and the best experience, but there was many people that I met. So there's not really one. There's some that stand out, but most of it is meeting people and being able to listen to them, to their stories, and just to get to know them.
What was your worst experience on the highway?
Mainly just noise of the traffic. It starts to get fairly busy sometimes. Twice we slept under a bridge because it's easy to just pop up with no tent. And one night I didn't pay attention. The railway bridge and the highway bridge were right against each other, and even Cura didn't like me that night. This squealing of steel wheels on the rails all night long. We were almost deaf. But that's probably the worst thing.
Wow. How many miles did you walk per day?
We walk, per day, 30 to 35 kilometers a day on average. The most we did in a day was 51 kilometers. We did nothing the next day. That was way too much. Probably the worst was maybe 11 or 10 kilometers in a day when it was really bad, rain, wind, or we were tired or whatever. Yeah.
What animals have you seen?
The very first animal we seen was a squirrel. And he would not leave us alone. He came right up within inches of the picnic table, right on by my hand, and he would just chatter all day and keep coming back. And the very next one we seen was a nice big buck on the side of the road.
Could you
A buck
explain
is a
what
male deer with big horns, and he was a nice one. And so I took a picture of him, and I put on the bottom, "Oh dear me, we're still walking." And then I thought, oh, we need to see a bear. So when we went just past Kitwanga, we got to see a
Spirit bear.
white spirit bear. And so I put under the picture, "Oh, bear with us, we're still walking."
Did you have an experience with a grizzly bear?
Yes, we seen a grizzly bear just before Prince Rupert along the railway tracks, and we followed her for about a quarter of a kilometer. It was pretty scary. She didn't know we were there. She was off the tracks towards the river and back up again, back and forth. So it was a little, I'm not comfortable around grizzlies at all. And that was it for animals, complete.
Wow. What do you feel?
What do I feel
Like
in what way?
emotions?
Emotions, very, 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 very strong and powerful, many times, to where people have asked me, "Why don't you write a book about this walk?" And I've said, "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I can't write." "Oh, well then get somebody else to write it for you." And I said, "You can't." "Why not?" "Because some things you can't put on paper or get off of paper. Very
It's not
strong emotions, it has to be told. Very, very, some I can't even talk about right now. Over time I will be able to. Some are very, very, very strong. Very nice, but strong.
What food do you like?
What food do I like? Do you know what a gummy bear is?
Yeah.
Well, gummy worms are way better because they
Yeah.
wriggle around inside you, and that's my favorite. Yeah.
Tell me what you learned during this important, exciting journey.
That even though, and I've met 5 families that have lost their loved ones from murder. One family, their son is missing. And even while they're going through that, they are still very strong, very, very, very welcoming, and that is very emotional. That is very strong. I can't understand what they're going through. I can only try and imagine, because you're not in somebody's shoes, you really can't tell,
Yeah.
to a point. And that has been very, that trip and what I've learned from people like that, I just, people are so loving all the way through the whole journey, but those 5 families and 6 with the one missing, 6 total, I don't go to the families, they come to me because that's privacy. I won't go to people unless they ask. So that has been very, that's the most important part of the trip. I mean, I'm here for awareness, but that is just something that I'll live with for the rest of my life. In that, it's a good thing for me, in that it's, it'll take me a while to learn, to talk about it.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm this tall. No, I grew up in Cranbrook, BC. We moved there when I was 5 in 1964. Sorry, when I was 4 years old. And lived in Cranbrook almost my whole life until about a year and a half ago. I moved to Kimberley, which is about a 20-minute drive. And I went to school there and this and that. And I had my own business. I worked in the sawmills when I was young, and then I had my own business after that.
What was your business?
My business was industrial fencing and industrial steam cleaning, which is mainly gas valves for the gas companies, and the CPR, which we have for the railway. Up here you have CN, we have CPR.
What, with a little bit about yourself, I don't think you really finished this. Like, what
You just keep
animals
asking.
do you live with? What animals do you live with? Where do you live? What was your history of growing up?
Okay, my mom and dad had a shoe store. That's what I mainly grew up in. We grew up at Jim Smith Lake, a little lake just outside of Cranbrook up on the hill 3 miles away from town. And then when I left home, when I was old enough to leave home, I left a little bit early to work in the sawmills. My parents moved to the other side of town, out on a farm. And I lived there, like I say, pretty well my whole life. I live in Kimberley now in a home with 79 other people.
Wow.
And yeah, I gotta move back there one day. I need it for care now because I'm a little bit ill. So I need a bit of help in my days. And, oh, I have 2 daughters, one 30. She's a lifeguard at the Cranbrook swimming pool. I have one daughter, 27 and a half, we'll say now almost 28. And she's a registered nurse in the Cranbrook Hospital.
Do you have a wife?
No, not anymore. 2019, in 2000, I was divorced, which is not good, but that's what happened. Yeah.
What animals do you have?
I have my Kira, which is a Siberian Husky half-wolf, and Mouse. And Mouse is Kira's best friend, and she is a ferret. She's back home. Yeah, but we'll see her when we get back there.
Where are you from? What?
I'm from Cranbrook and now Kimberley. Yeah. In the East Kootenay. Both of those towns are in the East Kootenay.
What do you like?
To eat?
Just
Or
mainly.
I like fishing. I like swimming. I like to have a coffee now with people and sit and listen or a tea or whatever. You get to slow down a little bit later in life. I like my hobby, although I can't really do it anymore. I used to build airplanes, remote control airplanes, from little ones to great big giant ones, and fly those. And because I shake a little bit, I have a hard time making them now.
What did you feel at the end of your journey when you accomplished it?
That's an excellent question. As the kilometer numbers started to shrink, when I started to get to kilometer 0, it's when I started, I thought, oh, sometimes you get so many days that you think, oh, it's so long to go. Well, you just keep going. And then I got past the halfway point, which I believe is Burns Lake. I might be wrong. And then the numbers start to go down, 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 down. Then towards the end, not too far from here, maybe here in Terrace, and time starts to go by. The numbers get small and it starts to get sad because you know you're coming to an end. But at the same time, you're kind of happy that you're making the end. So it was a mixed emotional thing. So that was sad that the walk came to an end, but the journey will never end. This is for the rest of my life.
What did it feel like after you finished the walk?
Relief that I know I can now rest, but I don't know because I have so much that I've seen, learnt, and felt that I don't even know what I've experienced yet. Still so much that I have to have time for it to come out.
Did you feel accomplishment when you finished it?
Yes, and I have a lot of, not worry or anything, I have a lot of questions for myself in that how do I want to go about letting people know about this journey and being respectful and not offending anybody, and to have people understand that we are all, right across the whole world,